And I just want to remind our listeners that trends are made up bullshit. It's just another marketing strategy. Being on trend means absolutely nothing. I've got a fun story to start us off on.
Oh, she's prepared. Go on.
I got scammed the other day.
What?
Yeah. So basically, I was in the big city doing some plant sitting, and I literally had like €8 to my name. Not much. And Lisbon is not that expensive, but €8 is not enough for like dinner. So I was thinking like, oh shit, what can I do for food? And then I remembered the app Too Good to Go.
Oh, amazing.
I went through it and I found like a little bakery near my corner. And in Portugal, you've got savory baked goods and sweet baked goods. So I thought that would give me a good range, a nice dinner. If you guys do not know, Too Good to Go is an app where businesses can put their stock up on at the end of their day before they close. So you can go and you basically get a mystery bag and you get everything at a very ridiculous discount. It basically stops food waste. And I always like this idea. And where I am, there are only not that many places that do it. So when I was in the big city, I thought, you know what? I might as well try this out, get some content for the pod.
Love that. Always good for the content.
I set off. The place is just like literally around the corner from me. They gave me a time when I should arrive there, and always like a little bit nervous when I'm going to a new place because I have to speak Portuguese. Well, generally I have to speak to people and I don't like speaking to people, but also in Portuguese. So that gives me anxiety. Preparing myself, practicing what I'm going to say in Portuguese, and go to the place and realize this looks very closed. Very closed. Not just we just closed. This looks extremely closed. So I look on the door and there's basically a sign saying, hey, we've gone on holiday for 3 weeks. So the bakery's closed. Oh, great.
You went all that way. I was about to say, by the way, guys, this isn't an ad. We just really like Too Good to Go. But I'm thinking this is the worst ad ever because you didn't get any food.
I didn't get any food. No. Obviously filed a complaint. I kind of went a little bit Karen about it because, I looking forward to this, and also
Very hungry.
I filed a complaint. They did refund me, but it took them like 4 days to refund me. When you only have €8 to your name, every single euro basically counts. So I was just like, I was not happy.
That's such a poor scam. I can't believe someone would scam you on Too Good to Go. It's such a wholesome platform.
I think the business just forgot to turn it off while they were gone on holiday, because the audacity was Too Good to Go the next day. Oh, there's another mystery bag from this place. And I'm like, no, there is not. I know that they're closed for 3 weeks.
The mystery is there's no bags.
So yeah, I'll probably try Too Good to Go one more time. But yeah, unfortunately, my first impression of them wasn't great.
That's such a shame because my family used Too Good to Go. They have not been scammed yet, but they usually go to supermarkets and get big boxes of loads of different veggies, and they're really good at making soup, so they have soup all the time, or they have so many veggies they give them to their neighbors and other family members. I know you can go to bakeries and get sweet treats and stuff, but actually you can get loads of grocery stuff. Hopefully no one else listening has been scammed.
Yeah, it was just bad luck. I was very disappointed.
I might match your sustainable fail with a sustainable win, just to balance the universe out. Mine is weirdly not food related, which is very surprising for me. Mine is clothing related again. So I've been looking for a really nice midi skirt for ages. I'm really weirdly specific on trousers and skirts. I want them to fit well. I want the material to be right. I don't know. I'm picky, and I think for a good reason. I want to love my clothes and, they'll last for longer. And I found I love olive greens. I love greens, and I found the perfect olive green midi skirt. It fit me perfectly. But and this was from a secondhand shop. When there's just one little detail that you just don't like on it, and it had a metal buckle on it that just looked really tacky, which is such a shame because it ruined the whole skirt. The whole skirt was very elegant, and I was like, oh, this one thing. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna find another skirt that fits as well as this. I'm gonna make this skirt my own. So I bought it. I removed the buckle and re-sewed it, and then I wore the skirt the wrong way round, but it kind of works. and it looks lots better than it did when I bought it. And now I'm like, I love this even more. It looks really nice. It looks like I've bought it like this. I was so happy, and I was like, no one else will have a skirt like this. So I was really pleased with myself because we all know that Beth doesn't sew. Marie knows this especially. So yeah, really, really proud of myself. So I would definitely encourage you, if you do find a piece of clothing and there's one like little details like the buttons. Buttons are so easy to change. You don't like the buttons on something, go find some buttons that you like and make that outfit your own. I don't know. I was just really pleased with myself. Well, I would share with everyone, little DIY.
Yeah, not gonna lie, I completely forgot that you said you started the story as a sustainable win, because as you were telling it, I was like, oh, what did she do wrong? Just because I remember your sewing skills. I'm sorry. I still get like cold sweats in the night thinking of your sewing skills.
Marie! I loved that though. We had a happy ending though. I hope you're proud of me.
No, I am very proud. And no, that is a very good way and a good tip. Basically, all these like buckles, buttons, belts, they're usually quite easy to remove, even if you don't have that much sewing experience. So I would always advise trying, especially if the fit is good. Because if the fit is not good, that's a bit more tricky to fix.
Absolutely. And that is absolutely beyond my technical ability. But it made me really rethink how we wear clothes, because there isn't any rules to it. I'm wearing this skirt the wrong way round, and to be honest, you wouldn't even be able to tell at all.
Definitely not. There are absolutely no rules on how you should wear clothes. My mom gifted my cousin a dress from the brand that I currently work for, and she sent me the photo of her in the dress all excited, and I was just like, oh, not there's anything wrong with this, but the dress is technically backwards. But if she likes to wear it like that, that is 100% fine. I just thought I would let you know that we designed that dress the other way. But if she wants to wear it backwards, she can wear it backwards. There is no right or wrong way to this.
Absolutely. And I've actually started to see this more with people wearing tops the other way around. So you get like a different neckline at the front and then like a backless thing going on. Like it's really nice when you break out of that thing with fashion where there is rules and you have to wear things in certain ways. It's really liberating. Clothing is fabric. You can wear that fabric however you please. So yeah, I just thought that was really, really liberating and a really good link into today's episode. Just see what I did there?
I did. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Two Girls, One Reusable Cup, your sustainable support group, the podcast about navigating the victories and venom of living a low-waste lifestyle in your 20s. I'm Marie, and as always, I am joined by the lovely Beth.
Hello.
Inspired by a recent influencer trip, which had the internet in rage, including myself, we are doing a deep dive on the fashion giant Shein, from its shady origins to its outrageous overproduction to their marketing strategy, which unfortunately is rather effective.
I'm so glad we are finally doing this episode. I find it so amazing how quickly Shein has come into power. I don't remember Shein a few years ago. It feels like the pandemic really accelerated their growth and now they're here to stay. But I am the same. They make me so angry, and I feel like this episode's going to make me, I'm going to not say angry, I'm going to say it's going to make me empowered, because I want to make other people aware about what Shein does, what Shein stands for, and why it's important to not shop at Shein.
They have become my nemesis over the years, and you're right. Based on my research, they're like about 15 years old, and that is not a lot compared to like most fashion companies. They rose up the ranks quick, and it's because of certain things that they are doing, which we will get into in this deep dive.
Can I just say that, again, Marie always does an absolutely fantastic job at researching, and you guys can't see this, but the long receipt that I can see in front of me of all the notes on this episode is absolutely amazing. There's screenshots from social, there's pictures, there's references and URLs. It's amazing. Marie has done some amazing work here.
Yeah, this document is 23 pages long. And honestly, this is me holding back. There's so much more. There's still so many more articles I could have referenced, so many more stories, but we do want to keep this limited to an hour. Otherwise, this could be like 5-hour episode.
This could be a whole series. I was going to say before we start as well, we have all said before on this podcast that we never want to shame people. We want to give you the information to do with what you will. Our opinion of Shein is that Shein does a lot of very, very bad things that we want to make you aware of, so you can choose to not shop with them knowing the stuff that we're going to tell you, basically.
Let's get into the origins of this company. Now, this could be an episode in itself because I found this so fascinating. But would it surprise you that a shady company has a shady past?
You know what? Knowing Shein, not at all. And the fact that actually I don't feel like a lot of people know Shein's origins is shady in itself. So this is great. I'm really nosy and I'm excited to find out.
And this is the thing, because most of this is kind of hearsay. So I've covered it more in a general term because it is not confirmed, but it's not denied. Let's get into it. So Shein is one of the most Googled fashion brands worldwide. It is a Chinese-based retailer that was founded in 2008. The company generated 100 billion in sales in 2022. They sell a wide range of goods from clothes to home decor, so it's not just fashion. The origin of Shein is a bit mysterious. Its founder is a very private and hardly makes any public appearances and interviews.
Probably busy rolling in money.
The fact that he doesn't make any public appearances is a bit strange.
And it's mad as well because we're talking about probably the biggest fast fashion brand, aren't we, Marie? Like bigger than, like you said, I'd even say Zara and Boohoo and Pretty Little Thing. They are huge, and that is why this is really scary.
I think we need to stop using the term fast fashion. It's not fast fashion, it's ultra fast fashion. This is a whole other ball game. Look at me doing sports references like I play sports. This is a whole other area. It's surpassed all those other companies that you've just mentioned. The Chinese company has about 10,000 employees and offices across China, Singapore, and the US. Most of its suppliers are located in the Guangdong region. This ultra-fast fashion behemoth was founded by Chris Xu, a US-born entrepreneur and search engine optimization specialist, which is a very important fact that I want you all to remember.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that. And as we'll probably mention later on, it's very good if you do know a lot about search engine optimization, SEO. So basically how to rank higher on Google search engines, etc. How to get yourself seen.
Now, the history of Shein is a bit convoluted and mostly based on hearsay, but overall summary, founder CEO Chris Xu screwed over his former business partners big time by freezing them out of their own profits and just taking off with all the money that they made and then using that money to start Shein.
Wow, you really meant it when you said it had shady origins. What a snake.
And so this is a direct quote from one of his former business partners. And he says, and I quote, "When you're dealing with someone with bad morals, you can't tell when he's going to hurt you, right? If I can stay clear from him early on, at least he's not able to hurt me later." And this is a quote from Li Peng, a former business partner, the one he screwed over, talking about Chris Xu, the founder of Shein.
I mean, I'm not surprised because he started Shein. You would have to have bad morals to do that, as we will discover.
Yeah, but I do find it interesting. There's a direct quote floating out there telling everyone that this guy has bad morals.
So, Marie, because we're obviously here to share information with everyone, I'm guessing now is a good time for you to go into what makes Shein so bad.
Yes, I mean, I think we've already covered the first nail of the coffin. Extremely shady CEO. The second one is its business model, which is essentially overproduction. So the company was valued at 100 billion, higher than the combined worth of fast fashion titans H&M and Zara. It ships to 150 countries worldwide, and it's an online marketplace that brings together about 6,000 clothing factories in China, under the Shein label, while internal management software collects near instant data about which items are selling and which aren't to visibly boost their popular items.
You weren't lying when you said this is ultra fast fashion. This is fast fashion on steroids if it was done well. Because what they do well in terms of they are very good at selling clothes. They've got really clever people there, which really adds to the problem.
Yeah, well, this is where the past of him basically being a tech genius comes into play, because we'll get into this more detail, but it's the algorithm behind the company which makes it so successful. According to an investigation by Rest of the World, Shein has added anywhere between 2,000 and 10,000 individual styles to its app each day between July and December of 2021.
Now, I want people to really think about this because we've said before about the resources that go into making things. Previous episode, we talked about smartphones and all the materials that went into making that. We've talked before about the clothes I wear, like my turtleneck and my jeans, and the resources, the whole process of getting that turtleneck to me is extensive. And that's one piece of clothing. And when you think about that, and then put that into context of what Marie's just said, that every day between 2,000 and 10,000 new styles of clothes. So that's not the number of clothes, that is the type of clothes. That is extortionate. That is mass manufacture. And you should be scared of that. We already have enough clothes on this planet, and now we're pumping even more into it, like never before.
Business of Fashion released a very good graph where they show the output of every big fast fashion retailer: Shein, Zara, H&M, Gap. They don't even compare. It's not even an even bar chart. Like, Shein is up at the very top and all the rest are quite flat. This is even unusual for the fast fashion industry, which is why I say Shein is not fast fashion. It's ultra fast fashion. This is a whole other business model. To show the impact that this has, the manufacturer's rapid use of virgin polyester and large consumption of oil churns out the same amount of CO2 as approximately 180 coal-fired power plants, according to the Synthetics Anonymous report published on fashion sustainability.
And that is one brand doing that. This is how amazing these stats are, because I'm lost for words. I mean, the stats are obviously themselves not amazing, but there's countries that don't consume that much energy. This is one brand that sell, in my opinion, non-essential items at the rate that they are manufacturing them anyway.
As a result, the company leaves about 6.3 million tons of carbon dioxide a year.
I'm speechless. I am honestly speechless. I think we talk a lot about aspects of fast fashion. I feel like we don't talk about this side of it enough, the resources and the pollution in terms of emissions. We talk a lot about clothes ended up in landfill, which is incredibly horrible, but there's pollution at both ends of the manufacturing cycle, and that's an insane amount by one brand. It's scary. It's really, really scary. This is literally a giant of a company. Like you said, it's not even in the same league as the other fast fashion companies anymore.
Oh, for sure. A typical fashion brand might design a few hundred styles a month in-house and asks its manufacturers to make thousands of pieces for each style. That's how H&M and Zara operate. But in contrast, Shein works largely with outside designers. Most of its independent suppliers both design and produce the clothing. If Shein likes a design, it places a small order between 100 to 200 pieces, and the clothes get the Shein tag. To get from concept to production, it takes less than 2 weeks.
And I think if you'd asked fashion houses, fashion producers a few decades ago, not ask them, if you told them about this a few decades ago, they wouldn't believe you. They wouldn't believe that you would be able to manufacture and design and manufacture clothing that quickly. I mean, Marie, your whole life has been spent working in the fashion industry. You are a designer and a maker by trade. I mean, you I remember I went to your final show at uni, and you did a whole collection, and it was absolutely amazing. And that took you a lot more than 2 weeks to make?
No, it's insane. If you remember from our first ever fashion episode, it was reported that it takes Zara 15 days for a garment to go from the design stage to being sold in stores. And that is where the term fast fashion came from. And there is a very strong reason why I am comparing Shein so much to the other fashion brands, and that will come into play down the line later. But once again, this is unprecedented. This is not every day, even for fast fashion. And what makes Shein unique is it's a purely online model, which, unlike its large fast fashion competitors such as Zara, H&M, Gap, they don't have to staff a physical store, and that cost goes away. And they don't have to deal with racks of unsold clothing at the end of each season. The University of Delaware did a study, and they found that in the recent 12-month period, Gap listed roughly 12,000 different items on its website. H&M had about 25,000, and Zara had an average of 35,000. Shein, in that period of 12 months, had 1.3 million.
And it really makes you think, do we need that many clothes? Do we need these new clothes coming out? And actually, I think Shein is especially known for having very trendy items. And this is, again, a whole other episode. But as we know, trends are getting even more accelerated now. The trends are coming and going so quick. And Shein is one of the fast fashion brands really dominating and getting in on them trends. It's not healthy. It's we don't need this many clothes. This is greed at its finest.
Yeah, and I just want to remind our listeners that trends are made up bullshit. It's just another marketing strategy. Being on trend means absolutely nothing. Completely eliminate that word from your vocabulary. Like, this is coming from someone who works in the industry.
And me, who at the start of the episode said that I wear my skirts back to front. And that is a choice. That is not by accident. You can wear whatever you want, however you like.
How is this all possible? And this is where, like, Shein's founder's background comes into play, because he is not a fashion designer. And I would argue that he has no interest in fashion based on all the research I've done about him. He sees fashion as a get-rich-quick scheme. This is just my opinion based on the research, because the founder is a search engine optimization specialist, and he's big in the tech industry. And the key to Shein's success, Shein uses an extremely secretive algorithm. The brand has made billions by creating the secret algorithm that determines emerging fashion trends. The algorithm not only predicts trends, but also sales. Many of the company decisions are made with the help of this custom software, which quickly identifies which pieces are popular and automatically reorders those. And for styles which had disappointing sales, the software completely halts production on them.
See, this is why I've said in the past, because my background's marketing, how scary and creepy marketing is, because it's very good at getting you to buy things. It's incredibly clever. Just for example, people have probably heard that social media has algorithms that basically determines what you want to see and puts posts and content in front of you based on your activity on the app and outside of the app. So if a brand is using that to target what people like and predict what they're like, no wonder it has been so successful. And that's amazing and super clever, but it's really, really worrying. This is why I don't like to blame consumers too much, because marketing is very, very clever, and this guy is very good at it, and this software is very, very good, and we've got to somehow try and escape it. It's really, really scary. It's very clever, ultra fast fashion.
Yeah, I'm by no means a tech genius. You guys discovered last week when you heard about my setup. Based on my research, what I have found that this is an AI-based software that goes through nearly everyone's social media and picks out what everyone's wearing and then curates the lines through there. This is what I mean when trends are made up bullshit. They already exist. They just push them even more, which is how they become trendy, basically. Can't confirm or deny this. There's a lot of secrecy around this algorithm, but based on my research, that's how I understood this works.
And I certainly didn't know that. I don't think a lot of people know that. That is really, really scary information. Like, we're scared of all the stuff we're hearing about AI. This is essentially like very similar kind of thing. I think it's really puts an emphasis on wear what you want to wear, because as Marie said, trends are bullshit. It's being determined by Shein's algorithm, which is very influential. There is no thing that trends or doesn't trend. Wear whatever you like, and then you're not a slave to buying from these brands because you're wearing whatever you like. You'd have to buy what they're telling you to.
Definitely. And so this secret algorithm also plays a role in the lawsuit that I'm going to be covering later on. Let's go and dig deeper into Shein, and let's talk about its labor conditions.
Now, I think this is what most people probably associate with Shein's negative reputation. And I think actually a lot of fashion brands, it is the labor conditions, which are really, really important. And as we'll find out, Shein is not very good in this department.
No, but and I think it's safe to say none of this shocked me. And out of all of things we talked about, this is the one that, comes close to like Zara's and H&M's and Penny's and practices. So a documentary on UK's Channel 4 found that Shein's employees work 75-hour shifts with very little time off. The Channel 4's documentary is called Inside the Shein Machine, which is available to watch on YouTube for free. There is no excuse. It is available for free. Sent undercover cameras to film the factory workers who were forced to pull 17-hour shifts to make hundreds of garments a day. In one factory, they made a daily base salary of $20, which would then be docked by $14 if any garment had mistakes. And this was a common occurrence. They used any excuse to say that this garment had a mistake.
I remember this documentary coming out and how shocking it is. And I think you need to try and put yourselves in this position. It's complete. Oh, I don't know how to say it, because what I'm about to say does not do it justice. It is criminal, these working conditions. No one should have to work in these conditions at all for this amount of pay. I mean, Marie, would you work for that pay and them conditions?
No, absolutely not. And this is where I say it's slave labor. People always get very uncomfortable when I say this, but this is slave labor. And it is very prominent throughout the fashion industry, and Shein has no exception to this. Shein did its own sustainability and social impact report, in which it committed on using more sustainable textiles and disclosing its greenhouse gas emissions. Woo for them. But it's so funny because I guarantee they thought they would publish this report for good PR. And in their very own audit, so the audit that they conducted themselves of their suppliers, they discovered big safety problems of nearly 700 suppliers that were audited. About 83% were operating with major risks. Most of these violations were of fire and emergency preparedness and working hours, but some were considerably more serious. 12% of these suppliers had committed zero tolerance violations, which could include underage labor, forced labor, and severe health and safety issues. And this was in their own report.
I don't know what they were expecting to find, if I'm honest with you. I don't know why this shocked them. I'm certainly not shocked by this.
No, and we say that Shein is very good at marketing. They're not very good at PR. as we will discover further on. But I found it funny that this wasn't external investigation. This was their own.
It's a bit ironic, isn't it?
And if all that doesn't convince you that this is a garbage company, they've also put out and attempted to sell some extremely racist designs. They had a swastika necklace on their website for a while, and they had a Muslim prayer mat, which was sold as a decorative rug. These were removed from the website only after customers complained.
I mean, it goes back to the kind of quote from the founder's previous colleagues. He doesn't have any morals at all. And if they're using this algorithm and I don't know why the algorithm will pick up on this, but they will just put whatever they want out. And it just gets worse. What else have we got on this big receipt?
Would it surprise you that Shein is currently involved in a lawsuit?
No, it wouldn't. I mean, this feels like the lawsuit. It feels like we're in court right now and you are presenting all the evidence. So what is this lawsuit they're involved in?
See, this is the thing, because all the stuff that I just mentioned doesn't even apply to this lawsuit, because how they're suing Shein is genius, but once again, in my opinion, a little bit hilarious. So Shein is being sued by plaintiffs who claim the online retailer engaged in copyright infringement and racketeering. 3 independent designers have filed lawsuits alleging that Shein sold exact copies of their work, which they argue violates the Racketeer, Influenced, and Corruption Organization, Rico Act. The Rico Act was originally put in place to target organized crime by the U.S. Department of Justice. But racketeering also applies to egregious copyright infringement. But put that to context, this law was put in place in the 70s to help fight the mafia, and now it's taking down Shein.
This whole thing you can't make up. It's like a dystopian story. And I think I have seen this more in the news about Shein copying designers, and it's such a kick in the teeth when Shein is making this much profit. It's usually smaller designers who obviously won't be making as much as Shein, and Shein feels the need to steal, literally blatantly steal. It's not even hinted, it's pure copy and paste from what we have seen.
To put it into context, racketeering is an umbrella term for crimes committed in business dealings, such as murder, kidnapping, gambling, arson, robbery, bribery, and extortion. And to add to this dystopian nature, another person that is currently facing a RICO lawsuit is the former president of the United States for trying to overturn an election.
I love this. You can't make it up. And I love that we've managed to get Trump and Shein in the same conversation. Amazing.
To give more context of this lawsuit, graphic designers Krista Perry, Larissa Martinez, and Jay Barron are the plaintiffs in this suit. Perry says that Shein sold a Make It Fun graphic she created online. When she contacted Shein about the stolen poster design, the company offered her to pay $500.
So that is basically them admitting that yes, they stole it, and they're trying to they're sending her quiet money, which is a mere $500.
It gets worse. So obviously Perry did not accept this, and the following year, Shein had the audacity to reach out to her to see if she wanted to contribute for a capsule collection designed by aspiring artist.
It is like robots work at Shein. I think cheek's a very mild word. They are absolute snakes. I can't imagine if me and Marie are both from creative backgrounds, if Marie created a collection and put it online, or if I drew or painted something and Shein stole our work, I'd be mortified that my design was used for evil. Something I've put out there has been soiled. It's just wrong on so many levels, and it's not needed at all.
No, and just the audacity to ask back, like, hey, are you willing to work with us on this capsule collection? It's just so.
We'll give you $501.
Yeah, she didn't disclose how much they offered to pay her or if that conversation even got that far. I'm pretty sure. I'm not putting words in her, like, I'm putting words in her mouth here, but just based on the context, I'm pretty sure she told them to fuck off.
And I mean, they probably weren't offering her a lot. We've seen how much they pay their garment workers.
So the other plaintiff is Baron, founder of Retrograde Supply Co., claims that Shein stole an embroidery patch she created with the phrase, "Hello, I'm trying my best," which is a brilliant piece of graphic design. I really like it. And then Martinez, CEO of Los Angeles-based clothing company Miracle Eye, that the retailer stole her orange daisy overalls design. I included these photos down at the bottom. There is no debate here. These are carbon copies. It's so clear that they stole these designs.
And we'll post these images so you can see. But what upsets me is they didn't even try. It is literally like when you copy someone's homework. It's that meme. They are identical. The daisy overalls, the print is exactly, even the colors to a T, exactly the same. The graphics especially look like they haven't been recreated. They have been screenshotted, copied and pasted over. It's disgusting, and it's really hurtful and not necessary at all. It's really unbelievable. Look at these images and just, yeah, it is absolutely shocking.
Yeah, and I also included another example, and this is where Shein went extremely wrong. Unfortunately, all these previous examples that I just cited are very small, independent artists, and the fact that they've actually gotten a lawsuit going is quite amazing because that's rarely the norm, because these brands do target small artists who don't have the money to fight back. But then they also decided to steal a skirt from Popflex. Now, Popflex is TikTokers Cassie Ho's athleisure fashion brand. And she is huge on TikTok. She is massive. Not just TikTok, she has a massive platform on Instagram and YouTube. And of course, when they stole her design, she had the entirety of the internet going up against Shein. She didn't even need to have lawyers involved because she just had the fury of her followers attacking them.
Yeah, they picked a fight with the wrong person there. But it also upsets me that they are targeting smaller businesses because they know, like you said, they won't be able to afford the lawyers. It's criminal. It really, really is. It is evil.
And to just add another layer of like disgusting behavior on top of this, and you can see this in Cassie's photos. She wrote an entire blog post. We'll link it when this episode comes out. But not only did Shein copy her design, they also copied the ethnicity of the model and the styling. So you can see that her skirt has a pocket. She demonstrates the skirt with an iPhone. She not only uses an iPhone as well, but they also copied the color. Both of these iPhones are white. They even copied what type of phone she's using.
It is mad. Like, you're right, the styling's the same. She's got rings on, she's got a white tank on. Even the background's very similar. It is disgusting behavior, and it adds insult to injury. It really does.
Yeah, and no idea is unique. Like, I've had brilliant ideas. Like, I've sketched something and I'm like, oh, no one's thought of this. And then I'll Google it and someone has done it. That happens. But the fact that these, not even just the clothes are carbon copies, but the images itself, but it also kind of plays to her favor. The thing, unfortunately, about clothing, it's extremely difficult to copyright because clothing is deemed as a necessary item. However, one thing that is quite easily copyrighted is marketing and images. And if she were to take legal action, that would be the way she would have to go. And there's clearly quite a lot of evidence here.
Absolutely. Again, we'll post the pictures there. They are exactly the same. It's like mirror image.
I did mention that Shein took the clothes down, but Few months later, the exact same skirt, just in a different color, was uploaded again.
Again, they have no moral compass. None. Zero. And literally the list isn't even over yet. There is more. We haven't even got into the juice yet of why we absolutely despise this criminal company. Please do continue with your long receipt, Marie.
Yeah, so next up on the list is toxic clothing.
Oh, I've heard loads about this, which I think is absolutely crazy. If this doesn't put you off Shein, I don't know what will.
So yeah, Shein also has sold children's clothing that does not meet safety standards set by the US Consumer Product Safety Commission. In July 2021, following testing, the commission announced to recall for thousands of Shein branded children's sleepwear set that violated the federal flammability standard, leaving children to be exposed to potential burn injuries.
And that's not a one-off occasion either, that we found problems with a lot of Shein's clothing.
In December, a Canadian health agency recalled Shein's children's jacket after a Canadian broadcasting corporation investigated and found that it contained dangerous amounts of lead.
And lead causes so many serious health conditions. We shouldn't have lead in clothing to begin with. We shouldn't be near lead. They do not care. These clothes can kill people. They can kill the people that make them, they can kill the people that wear them, and they can kill when they just sit in landfill spreading disease. Clothes should not be dangerous.
Greenpeace also wrote a report breaking down the toxic elements found in Shein's clothing, so I would strongly suggest you check that out as well if you're interested. I don't know about you, but I'm guessing the first time you heard about Shein is through a haul video.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say especially kind of TikTok reels, that kind of them realms of the internet. That's where I've definitely heard about Shein.
Where Shein's marketing strategy comes into place, because Shein uses influencers quite cleverly. So according to Nick Backloff, I'm having so much fun with all these names today, a marketing research specialist at the company called Hyper Auditor, Shein is unusual in the industry for the enormous number of influencers it sends free clothing to. They in turn share a discount code with their followers and earn a commission on the sales. And this strategy, Hyper Auditor says, has made it the most talked about brand of any kind on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I said at the beginning that Shein is the most Googled company. While Shein has collaborated with major celebrities and influencers such as Katy Perry, Lil Nas X, Addison Rae, the influencers with medium-sized followings, those seem to be their target.
I don't know about you, but I've actually been targeted, and they're probably scams, by so many ads that say, hey, do you want to get clothes from Shein for free? You can become an affiliate influencer and sell these clothes or something like that. And the amount of times I've been tagged on my Sustainable account, we've talked about their targeting being amazing, and I was like, you've literally targeted the worst person ever. But I mean, I have seen ads pop up all over the place of influencers, not just with one piece of clothing. They are massive boxes and bags full of clothes. I think as well, if you don't know, I think if you're unaware of why Shein is problematic, if you're just being sent free clothes and you're making money from it, you're like, this is fantastic, and I can see how people can get caught up in it.
At least all the ones that I've been tagged in are definitely scams. And I just find it hilarious. Not only are you trying to scam me, but you're trying to scam me with Shein. Seriously, insult to injury.
The amount of times we send it to each other, because we get it quite a lot. And I think even the podcast account has had Shein targeted the podcast account as well, which I find really funny considering their targeting is meant to be amazing.
Which is why I'm saying those are scams. Those are definitely scam accounts.
It's at least scam us with something we want. Come on.
But what you were saying about the influence is so true, because no one just buys one item from Shein. It's always a massive haul. It's always the box, tipping the box over and seeing all those packages fall out. That is also like kind of become like the look associated with Shein reels, and every single like influencer is trying to like top the other. So they're like, oh, this person did 3 boxes. Well, I'm going to do 5 boxes from Shein and stuff like that. So it's just getting like to a ridiculous amount. I do agree with you that if you have no idea and you're being approached and you're a mid-sized influencer, you do see this as like a good opportunity. And this is where the brand trip comes in.
Oh, the brand trip. This is the juice. This is the juice of the receipt. When you think it couldn't get worse, they have the audacity to do this. This really was the tipping point for us doing this episode. This happened and we were like, no, we're not letting them get away with this. We need to talk about this. So, Marie, for those who might have missed this on social media, could you tell us more about what this brand trip was that Shein did?
Absolutely. And by the way, if you do want to stay up to date, follow us on Twitter, because I was popping off when this was happening. I do tweet a lot of random shit. Once in a blue moon, I will tweet something actually related to the podcast. So do follow us on Twitter if you want real-time updates. So in summary, Shein sent 6 American influencers to China for them to inspect is in quotation marks, to inspect a garment factory from Shein, and the internet was not having it.
I can't. This was just the ultimate low from them. It really, really was.
And naturally, these influencers got a ton of backlash for this. The discourse around this was just, some of it was hilarious, some of it was actually quite mean, and some of it was also generally informative.
I should probably say what happened with the influencers is they showed their trip on their Instagram stories in real time, on Twitter. They did like interviews with garment workers and you could see them talking and interacting with the clothes.
So they were brought to 2 places. One was the Shein Innovation Lab, which is where they come up with all ideas and designs. And the second one was meant to be a garment factory. It was not a garment factory. I'll break down all the details of the video that tell us that this is not a garment factory in a bit. The discourse around this was a lot. One of my favorite comments was girl bossing in a sweatshop. I also saw a lot of harsher comments, and these influencers were pushing this narrative that Shein is this very high-tech company where most of the work is done by robots. And let me be very clear about this. There is no such thing as a magical sewing machine that sews a garment for you from start to finish at a press of a button. There is no such thing. When it comes to sewing, human manual labor has to be always involved.
Or you wouldn't have a job. You wouldn't be in this industry, essentially.
Yeah, you wouldn't find myself crying at 1 a.m. over a sewing machine because I have to go to a convention and my cosplay is not ready. Same goes for knitting and crochet. Under one of the stolen designs I listed, there was a crocheted sweater, and crochet needs to be done completely by hand. There is no such thing as a crochet machine. Knitting machines do exist, but once again, they do require human labor.
I think people do think that by the way they value and treat clothes. I think people will see a knitted jumper and just be like, that was just done in 2 seconds. Like the people who made that and crocheted it and spent hours on it are completely removed. Their fingerprints are gone. I think it's, especially with things like 3D printing and how instant everything is, I think it's hard to imagine that because so many knitted jumpers get produced that you think one person made each one. It's completely removed.
3D printing is another exception. I mean, it takes fucking hours just to print one thing.
Oh, it does. It does. I remember when they first came out and all the unis were like, this is amazing. This is the future. And it's like, this is shit.
Yeah, they tried to push 3D printing on my course, and then our university actually lost their 3D printer and had no idea where it was. And then once like I did my own research into it, because our lecturers just heard 3D printer and they're like, oh yeah, this is so innovative. It was great for fashion. And then I looked into it. And I'm like, no, this is fucking shit. This is not the future of fashion. It's just disillusioned by technology. But when it comes to the fashion industry itself is quite low tech, which does surprise quite a lot of people. And not just when it comes to machines, our software is ancient as well. I still remember my brother looked through one of my fashion books once, and he like looked through like the technical side of things, and he's like, fashion does not really understand tech, does it? And I'm like, nope, we do not. The old ways are the best ways. And this is why I say, like, what are the best ways to learn about the fashion industry and to engage with it is learn to sew. Not even learn to sew, make one garment. Make one garment from start to finish, and you will learn how much work there has gone into it. I've myself have been to a lot of sewing classes. I've even started teaching sewing. And I've just seen where people like bring in a pattern and think, oh, I can make this dress in a day. And then the entire day goes by and they haven't even finished cutting it out. And it completely shifts their perspective. So if you have the opportunity, do take a sewing class, because it's the best way to learn about the fashion industry.
Absolutely shift your perspective from the narrative that these fast fashion brands and Shein have put on us, because it's really easy to fall into the trap of thinking things are immediate. All this stuff is made by machines because of the amount of stuff that they pump out. It's not. Go and, like Miss Marie said, go and make something, go and repair something, and or make it as a gift for someone, and you will see the love and the time that goes into it. It's crazy. But yeah, so this brand trip was like a trip. It was completely staged. And as Marie mentioned before, there have been documentaries like Inside the Shein Machine that prove that this was all staged.
Yes, and just to break down just from these videos alone, Susan Bailey did an amazing thread on Twitter. She has 20 years of experience visiting garment factories in China, and she did an amazing Twitter thread breaking down these influencer videos and pointing out why this is a staged factory and why this isn't a real garment factory. I'll summarize it for you. The first thing she points out is that there's a lack of safety signage anywhere. There are no fire escape signs, there's no first aid signs, and there are no fire extinguishers. Fashion creates a lot of dust, and dust is extremely flammable. You need to have fire extinguishers in your factory. And I can also attest to this. When we are cutting something in our studio, which is a very small studio, I am instantly covered in fibers from the garments that we're cutting. We have to always have a window open to keep us safe. And that is just a small amount. That is not even a fraction. That is like less than 1% of what Shein puts out.
Absolutely. It's a workshop. It's a factory at the end of the day. You need ventilation. You're making, you're cutting. There's going to be like bits coming off.
Yeah. And this is why in the good garment factories, you see garment workers wear masks to protect them from inhaling. And factories have extractor fans to pull up the fibers. So that was the first giveaway. The second one, and I noticed this right away when I saw the videos, there are no garments on all the sewing machines. They show like one sewing machine with one garment on it. And then all the majority of the machines appear to be empty. And they have state-of-the-art manufacturing equipment, but no one is using that to actually manufacture the clothes. Fast fashion means time is money, and these machines would need to be full in order to justify their price. Another big giveaway is there's a machine that appears to be cutting out one garment at a time. Bulk fashion production means cutting through several layers of fabric at a time to maximize efficiency. We do this in our studio. We only sell 5 to 10 pieces of one size, but we still cut all of those out together because it makes no sense cutting out every single piece separately. It just takes way too much time.
I'm just looking at these pictures now as well, and the empty spaces and what Marie's mentioned really do make it look staged. And as we found out what we've said before about Shein has no morals. They cut costs wherever they can. I mean, look at how much they pay their garment workers. Like Marie said, they're not going to have really expensive tech around and empty seats. It's a complete waste of money and energy, and that's a massive giveaway that it's staged. And I mean, if you're an influencer or you work in content, nothing's as it seems. Most pictures are staged. This is a prime example of it. And if Marie and other experts in the industry are saying this and it doesn't make sense, then it's a big giveaway. And it's not a shock that Shein would do something like this.
It's clearly off the stage. Another giveaway is that there's lack of garments on the irons. Sewing and ironing come hand in hand. The only time I ever own an iron is for my sewing. I do not iron my own clothes. It's only for the garments that I produce. So that was another big giveaway. I think one thing that led to the backlash being so severe, because one influencer got really targeted quite severely, and maybe because she had slightly a bigger following than everyone else, or maybe because in one of her videos she says it's important to become a critical thinker. And when I saw that, I mean, my brain almost exploded. Because she said something along the lines, it's important to be a critical thinker and do your own research. And I'm like, you've done none of that. Look up a photo of a garment factory, even one that is regulated underneath the Accords, and it would give you a general idea of what it looks like, and it would look nothing like what you were just shown. But also the idea that a brand that has been accused by labor violations, not even accused, has proven labor violations, would send influencers to their actual factories is just so stupid. That's where critical thinking comes in. Like, they won't take them to the real garment factories where garment workers make $20.
Absolutely. It's really complex because no one deserves hate, but these people have platforms that they've grown themselves, and you said a lot of them have quite big followings. They have a responsibility to make sure they don't spread misinformation, and they have a responsibility to research and look into what they're doing and what they're saying. So I think the fact that they have not clearly done this is incredibly irresponsible. I mean, me and Marie have a platform that we've created to share information, and we don't have the same amount of followers as some of these influencers, but we are so careful on what we research, on what we say, on what we do. And we're human, we don't get everything right, but we take responsibility for it. And these people have not. They have abused their power. And that's why this is a really sad thing that they have done. It's on Shein, but it's also on these influencers that have accepted this role.
Yeah, and another thing to point out, like, all of the influencers, when the backlash happened, they were like, oh, I didn't know. All you have to do is Google Shein. And after the store, articles upon articles upon articles will come up. And if you want to get more specific, just Google Shein labor rights violations, and even more articles will come. I research these episodes. Sometimes it takes me a while to gather all these facts, but I had to pick and choose what I left in and took out. There were so many articles, so many videos. That's another thing. If you just type in Shein in YouTube, the first video is a breakdown of how bad Shein is. That's one thing that kind of made me happy, that, like, you don't see haul videos. It's just breakdown after breakdown after breakdown of how bad Shein is. One Google search, one click of a button. That's all it takes. And just another few things I want to point out about this is that Shein has claimed that they are a sustainable company, but the number one, like, the first thing that stood out to me is that they flew these influencers over first class. First class is the least sustainable way to travel. If they cared about the environment, they would have stuck them in the economy. Then lastly, in any sense of the way, it's nice to be desired. And, like, when a company comes over to you and says, hey, we're going to fly you out first class, you're going to be staying in this 5-star hotel, you're going to be spending some couple of days in China and then fly off to Singapore, that all sounds great. And it would be difficult to say no to, because it is, like, sounds like a once in a lifetime experience. You're just selling your soul to the devil.
Especially, and influencers, that is their job, and we'll do an episode on influencers and if it's right to be an influencer. But that's where a lot of their money is coming from is working with brands. That is what the job of an influencer is, essentially.
All the influencers were like, we weren't paid. And I'm like, you got free first class flights. That's being paid, love.
And whether negative or positive exposure, they got exposure from this backlash that happened. And I also hate that Shein has almost put some of the blame onto them, and it is their fault for accepting, but people are sending hate to them. We should be directing the hate to Shein for coming up with this whole staged shit show.
And that is a very good point. And that was my last point on this, because Shein, after the backlash happened, dropped them like a stone. They didn't take any accountability for it. They didn't even back them up. They gave them no support. They just left them to be devoured by the mob and didn't do anything about it. And that just, once again, shows how Shein treats everything as disposable.
I think that's a fantastic way to summarize that and rethink about it. It's think about where you are directing the message. And again, these influencers who have responsibility said yes to this opportunity. That is on them. But Shein has pushed the blame onto them, which is, it's criminal. And obviously the hate that they got was horrific. It was horrible. It was an absolute mess, and I'm really glad that we did an episode on it.
That was like one of my biggest motivations, because it did blow up on the internet, but not many people who had a large platform were talking about it. I mean, the biggest content creator I saw talking about this was Hassan. And because he does more political coverage, he got some of it right, and I'm glad he gave a spotlight to it. But there were some things where I was like, oh, I wish you would have said this. Oh, I wish you would have pointed out this. And like another motivator, because I was like, we need to do an episode about this, because no one has actually done a deep dive in this company. And why is it important not to buy from them?
We've talked about fast fashion before. Zara, H&M, they're all culprits too, but it's getting you to understand how criminal and terrifying this brand is. They are committing crimes against the environment. And I know that sounds exaggerated, but I'm not exaggerating. It is so important to not buy from Shein. And I'm not saying to shame people who do, but you should talk to them and tell them, because there's this information, there's so much in this episode I actually didn't know. Obviously, being and living and breathing the sustainable community, I know why it's bad, because it's a fast fashion brand. But there's so many parts of it that I had no idea about. It is criminal, and we all need to get behind it and stop buying from Shein.
Yeah, because because I was like right in there with the discourse, and I was reading some of the comments on these influencer videos, and some of them were like, oh my God, you're also hypocrites. You all shop at H&M, you all shop at Zara, you all do this and this and that. And it's just, and this is where the distinction between fast fashion and ultra fast fashion comes in, because they're not even on the same level. And whereas I can understand someone shopping at H&M, Primark, Zara, if they don't have that much disposable income and they want to stay with the trends. However, Shein is one of those ones where it's a whole new level, and it's all bad. And also, side note, the comments, like the replies to that comment, were absolutely hilarious, because a lot of people were like environmentalists like me, who were like, actually, I've only shopped secondhand for the past 10 years. The thing is, like, a lot of people try to justify, and the influencers try to justify their actions, but there is hardly any justification here. They're being sued under the Rico Act, which was created to fight the mafia.
Sheena, the mafia of the fashion world. Confirmed.
There's another lawsuit that I didn't cover where H&M is suing them. They've had enough of Shein's shit. And that's just, I want them to fight and mutually destroy each other. It's gotten so bad that other fast fashion companies are like, no, we can't let this go on.
This is when you know it's bad. I think this is why it's important to, like, them comments said that, like, hey, how can you say this when you do this and this? Isolate Shein as its own thing. And actually loads of people say, well, what can I do to help the planet? Not shopping at Shein is actually something you can do. And it saves you money. because you're not spending money at Shein. So treat it like you're making a sustainable swap without spending any money. That is the level of seriousness you should treat this as. And that's what we are advocating for as well. I think people need to take this more seriously. So, Marie, would you like to summarize this roasting of the ultra fast fashion brand Shein in a few sentences?
Yeah, so we covered a lot, but in summary, Shein's founder, money hungry and garbage human being, which, yes, can be said about most CEOs. If I ever meet Elon Musk, I would probably punch him in the face. Shein uses slave labor. Shein's clothes are toxic. This is a proven fact. Shein steals designs from small, independent designers like myself, and Shein sells racist designs.
And here's my issue. We have spent the last hour laying out the evidence of why Shein is a garbage company. And if you listen to all this and turn around and go, Shein's all right, I could put this in much harsher terms. But because I'm a massive theater nerd, I'm just going to quote Hamilton on this. If you stand for nothing, what do you fall for?
And I think the last kind of words from me on this is, if you feel the need after hearing all of this to shop at Shein, there are other alternatives. As we've said in other episodes, if you have to buy secondhand clothing is affordable and it's a lot more accessible now. Borrow from friends, swap. There's loads more swap events now. And if there isn't, start your own. Renting is becoming massive now. More retailers are renting in store and big online places. You don't have to succumb to Shein's marketing. After knowing all of this, ask yourself, do you really, really need this from Shein?
And if the answer is yes, unfortunately, there is so much Shein in charity shops now that you can just get it from there. Like, if you really want something from Shein, which I generally don't know because the clothes could literally kill you. But that's another unfortunate about the situation, because Shein makes so many clothes that the charity shops are just flooded with them.
Absolutely. And I think after this episode, the best thing you can do is, 1, just don't shop at Shein anymore. And 2, talk about this with your friends and your family. If Shein comes up in the conversation, and it might just be a regular conversation like, oh, I'm thinking of buying this and look what I got, it was really cheap. It's a very difficult conversation to approach, but you should. And you should tell people why you shouldn't shop at Shein.
And if you're not great at awkward conversations, just send them this podcast. It helps us out. It educates them. I like to say we do know our shit. So.
And we're on all major podcast streaming platforms. So there you go. Bit of Shein loving for everyone. #SheOut. Thank you so much for listening to this really extensive episode. I hope you found it as interesting as I did. If you want to keep hearing our lovely voices, please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really, really helps us out. And also, we are on social. We are on Instagram and Twitter at 2 Girls 1 Reusable Cup. And you can also follow me and Marie's sustainable shenanigans at Sustainabelle and at Life on Mars on Instagram.
Thank you for listening, and remember to live frugally and eco-friendly.